Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Basic Education Board.
Hello, dear students. A very warm welcome to the TV learning programs. As usual, I'm your biology teacher, Herbert, and today I'm very happy to be with Senior 3 class, biology. So, student, we are still on the same unit, which is Unit 17. The unit title is concerning about decision-making regarding sexual relationships. And today we're going to have Lesson 2. Lesson 2 is concerning about strategies for protection against unplanned pregnancies and even STI, including HIV/AIDS. So the lesson has two learning objectives. Objective number 1, at the end of this lesson, everyone should be able to explain what are the strategies for due protection against both unwanted pregnancy and even STI, including HIV/AIDS. You're also going to be able to explain the types of condoms that are used for protecting those unwanted pregnancies and even HIV/AIDS. So students, welcome to the TV learning programs. So I think all of you are ready with a book, a pen and a notebook so that you can take notes and also be able to do the lesson assessment at the end of the lesson. So students, I think you are ready. If you're ready, bravo. Let's start the lesson. So before I start the lesson, I would want to show you something that you will be able to come up with the idea concerning about HIV/AIDS and then HIV/AIDS. You see the diagrams. What do you see in the diagram? I have diagram A, which is showing a female condom. Take your time. This is a female condom, and this is a male condom. What are they? Where do we use these female condoms and male condoms? The female condoms are referred to as what you call femodom. Femodom, all right? So we have another one, which is also the female condom in the diagram. So what are the importance of this diagram that I'm trying to show you? What do you get from the diagram I'm trying to show you on the screen? The female condom and male condoms. All right? So both of them, they are very important for a due protection against unplanned pregnancies and even HIV/AIDS, STIs and even HIV/AIDS, including HIV/AIDS. So we're going to go through the lesson now. Let's start the lesson. So a due protection, what do you understand by due protection? Take your time to think, what are due protection? So a due protection refers to the uses of methods which will prevent both unwanted pregnancies, STI, including HIV and AIDS, during sexual intercourse. That's what you call due protection. Go through the definition. That is the definition. The definition is trying to show you due protection, which refers to the use of methods which will prevent both unwanted pregnancies and STIs. When I talk about STI in full, sexual transmitted infections, including these STI, including HIV/AIDS and HIV and AIDS during sexual intercourse. In the previous session, we talked about some of the things that could lead into people having HIV/AIDS or people having STIs. We talked about ignorance. We talked about the influence of peer groups. We talked about alcohol and drug abuse. All those things can lead you to be able to suffer from HIV/AIDS. So we use contraceptives. Contraceptives are effectively used. If they're effectively used, they can prevent unwanted pregnancies. You get the point? So contraceptive methods including abstinence, sterilization, no-apparent injection, no-apparent and also injection. All these can be used to prevent unwanted pregnancies and even STI, sexual transmitted infections. Especially we're talking about HIV/AIDS. All right? So When you talk about oral contraceptive pills, there are some that are taken orally through the mouth. These are called oral contraceptive pills. We can use what you call IUD. What is IUD? Intrauterine device. We can use male condoms. We can use spermicides. When I talk about spermicides, these are chemical substances that can just be, they're in form of oil. It can be put in a vagina, and they make sperm to become inactive. All right? So female condoms can also be used. The diaphragm, or what you call cervical cap. We have vaginal spermicides, Aron and natural family planning methods. You also remember we talked about natural family planning methods, which includes withdrawal of the penis before ejaculation. We talked about breastfeeding for a long period of time also can also be used to prevent unwanted pregnancies. However, to protect against the transmission of HIV/AIDS and STIs, the following methods are effective. If they are effective, it means you are able to prevent yourself from HIV/AIDS and STIs. So abstinence, and now it is a non-penetrative sex, a long-term mutual monogamy with HIV testing. Male condoms with spermicides and male condoms with spermicides and male condom and even female condoms, diaphragm, cervical cap, and even vaginal spermicides are on. So due protection may be achieved through either the use of barrier methods. You talk about the barrier method. I talk about this method which can stop barriers. They become barrier methods, which can prevent, which can stop any unwanted pregnancies. Not only that, barriers can prevent STIs, and it can also prevent STIs, including HIV and AIDS. So such as a male or a female condom together with another contraceptive methods, or through the use of male and female condoms alone. The male condom is the most common device that is used for due protection. I'm talking about the strategies for due protection against unwanted pregnancies and even HIV/AIDS. The female condoms are effective as well. If I'm talking about the male condoms are most common devices that are used for due protection against unwanted pregnancies, also the female condoms are also very effective, as well. So the male condoms covers the penis during sexual activity. Hence, if used correctly, this barrier method protects against the transmission of STIs and HIV/AIDS as well as reducing the risks of unwanted pregnancies. Because if you are protecting from the transmission of STIs and HIV/AIDS, you also reducing the risks of unwanted pregnancies. So the female condoms can also offer a due protection against unwanted pregnancies and even the transmission of STI and HIV/AIDS. If, I'm just maybe trying to point it clear, if it is used properly. But when they are not used properly, they can't be one of the strategies of due protection against STIs and including HIV/AIDS and even unwanted pregnancies. So it has to be used properly. If they are used properly. See the diagram. You try to differentiate the two diagrams. This is a female condom, femdom. It is referred to as femdom. We have, this is A is a female condom, referred to as femdom. We have diagram B, which shows a male condom. All right? So you use it properly, covers the whole penis, so that you may also make sure that there are no any air linking inside the condom. So if they are used properly, it could be one of the easiest way or one of the barriers that can be used to prevent unwanted pregnancies and even the transmission of STIs, including HIV/AIDS. So that is the diagram. So contraceptives alone cannot be used for a due protection. The question is this: why is it not, the contraceptives alone cannot be used for due protection, since they do not offer a protection against STIs, including HIV/AIDS, and even unwanted pregnancies? So contraceptive may, however, be used as a means of due protection if the partners enter into monogamous union. Talk about monogamous union, it means that monogamy, that is marrying one husband and even one wife, not polygamy, because if it comes polygamy, more chances of getting STIs are there. All right? So people that get infected in that way, it is also there. So if the partners enters in a monogamous union and also get tested to ensure that none of them is infected with STI and HIV/AIDS. That's why when it comes to what you call married couples, when it comes to people who are planning to have a family, before they make a union of becoming a husband and a wife, they have to go for testing to test if they are negative in terms of STIs. That is, I'm talking about sexual transmitted infections. You know, we talk about examples of sexual transmitted infections. I normally emphasize on what you call HIV/AIDS. All right? So it also counts that on that side of testing negative, so that both the two partners should be safe. They are able to produce the offsprings, the babies who are HIV negative. So that one getting tested to ensure that none of them is infected with STI. Okay? So we also bring that idea. If they are tested negative, they make a family. It means that they also have to be what you call trustworthy to one another. They have to be what you call trusting one another. Because if there's no trustworthy in that way, people can get infected. So the use of condom may be effective in preventing the transmission of STIs and even unwanted pregnancies. We are hearing almost in very many districts in the country, young girls, they are getting pregnant, they are having unwanted pregnancy at an early age, 15, 16, 17. But if they are sure, if you can't control yourself, you better use these methods of protecting yourself from unwanted pregnancies and even from unwanted pregnancies and even STI, from STI transmission, sexual transmitted diseases. We mentioned most of them, the gonorrhea, the syphilis, the chlamydia. All these are diseases that are caused by doing unprotected sex. If you do unprotected sex, you are likely to suffer from this STI. So, unwanted pregnancy, but they are not 100%, let me just quote that, they are not 100% effective. So if they are not 100% effective, we should just be trying to think. And this is due to sex using condom may still spread an infection. I mentioned the word using them properly. The word properly comes more I can just maybe highlight it is very important, because when you're using these condoms, try to use them properly. Because if they are not used properly during sex, it may spread an infection. if the condom does not fully covers the infected area. You get the point? Are you with me? So some of the infections, such as pubic lice, scabies, genital warts viruses, and even herpes viruses are spread by cross-skin to skin contact. I'm mentioning about these diseases, and most of these diseases, they are caused by bacteria, all right? And even some, they are caused by viruses. Take an example, like herpes viruses are spread by cross-to-cross skin contact. So if you use the condom, but you find the way you're using the condom is not an effective way, if you're not using it in a proper way. So make sure, even you have to check the condom, if the condom is not expired, you check the expiry date. Because you may use the condom when the condom has been expired. So it means it can bring more chances of being affected by STIs, that is sexual transmitted infections, without forgetting even getting unwanted pregnancies. So you have to use condoms which are in good condition. If they're not in good condition, more chances of getting affected by HIV/AIDS is also very high. So condom may break, particularly if it is not used or stored in a proper place. Just maybe trying to highlight that one. Safer sex is about having sex when you are ready. All right? This practice is respectful and even protected. All right? I hope everybody you are following what I'm talking about. Okay? So, practice for safer sex includes what are the practices that you can do to have what you call safer sex. All right? Practice for safer sex includes this: having sex with only one partner when neither of you has any STIs. We go back to what I mentioned at the beginning. I mentioned the two partners must be monogamous union. Talk about monogamous union, it means that they must be one husband, one wife. So having sex with only one partner, that is monogamous union. And when either of the two has to be tested or be tested free, and they test that they are not having any STIs, that neither of you has any STIs. We should also talk about going for voluntary counseling and testing, which is referred to as VCT. VCT, which is very important, my friend. When you just moved around these places, most where there are very many people come across, take an example, in markets. Take an example, if you just go to the market of Chimirongo, you find there are some of these health centers that are doing their testing for STIs and even including HIV/AIDS. So we have to go for voluntary counseling and even testing. Regularly, not even you don't go, you just go there once and you stop. You have to go there regularly to get tested for common infections and having a treatment if necessary. You get the point, I think. You go there voluntarily. Nobody forces you to go for testing. And after going there regularly to get tested for common infections and even having a treatment if necessary, if you find maybe you have those diseases. Because when you come to biology, because you see people there, you can be having these, take an example, let me just talk about insides of the femoral part. The female one can be having these STIs and takes time to show the signs and symptoms. Take an example like gonorrhea. It can invade these reproductive organs, uterus and even the oviduct. And you find they will just destroy them. And we take time for you to see the signs and symptoms, which is quite different from the case for the case of the male parts. Signs and symptoms are normally expressed within 2 days, like blocking the urinating passages. So you have to go for VCT, voluntary counseling and testing regularly to get tested for common infections, and where necessary, if you can even have a treatment if necessary. When you get treatment earlier, less outcomes, less negative effects. Okay? So be aware that drugs and alcohol, as talked about, one of the things that can cause people to have to do unprotected sex is alcohol and drug abuse. Drugs and alcohol may affect your ability to manage the good decision. You are drunk. You do, if you are drunk, because I said you lose what you call, you are mentally disturbed. You are mentally unstable. Brain has been disturbed. So you lose thinking. And when you lose thinking in that way, it is also very hard for you to make a good decision. So protecting yourself from having sex that you might regret at the end of the day, or because we are pressured into because you were not you've been not thinking properly. At the end of the day, you start regretting. So male and female condoms can be used, because if you are drunk, you can't use the condom in a proper way. So it needs, use it when you're in a good condition, all right? Not being pressured, all right? Male and female condom can be used with the contraceptives to prevent more effective due protection against STIs, STI, that is including HIV/AIDS, and even including unwanted pregnancies. All right? So let's have another thing which is another means. You abstain from something. You abstain from sexual intercourse. So this is a better method because it offers a complete protection. Get me very well. Abstinence is the best method because it offers you a complete protection against STIs, including HIV/AIDS and unwanted pregnancies. So students, we've discussed very many things concerning about the strategies for due protection of unwanted pregnancies and even STIs, including HIV and AIDS. We've talked about condom. I talked about one of these strategies. The strategies, it includes the strategies for due protection against unwanted pregnancies. We talked about number one is use of condoms. The use of condom, I talked about the female one and the male one. Female condom and the male condom. All right? Another one is abstinence. Number two is abstinence, which is very important for complete TOFAs because abstinence offers a complete protection against STIs, that is HIV/AIDS, and also it offers you for not having unwanted pregnancies. Three, we can have contraceptives. Contraceptives, I mentioned very many of them. I talked about these IUD, intrauterine devices. I talked about Noraplant. I talked about injections. I mentioned about the injections. I talked about these putting these intrauterine devices. There are very many things that we can use. You can also use what you call spermicides. spermicides, which can make the sperms to not become inactive. These are all barriers that can prevent you from unwanted pregnancies and even preventing you from sexual transmitted infections, including HIV and AIDS. So student, I think you've heard, and I think it is very clear for you, very constructive for you to protect yourself from HIV, AIDS, and protect yourself from STIs and even unwanted pregnancies. So I'm ending the lesson, but I can't end the lesson without testing your understanding. Okay? I will give you some numbers to test your understanding if you've understood all the things I'll be discussing about strategies for due protection against STIs and even unwanted pregnancies. Number one, on your own opinion, is it correct for the youth to use contraceptives? Number two, explain why sterilization method cannot be used to prevent against unwanted pregnancies and STIs. Number three, a male condom cannot be used for sexual protection if expired, torn or ripped, used previously, or are all of them above are correct. So student, thank you very much for your active participation and listening to me. And I wish you to have a blessed day. See you next time. Bye.